3 for Thursday, and today we're going to take a look at some knives that will also work in the kitchen. This is a Takray. These are available on Amazon. These knives are only about $30. The blade steel in this one is VG10. And it is ground pretty thin behind the edge. Just by feel, I'm going to say this is no more than 15 thousandths of an inch behind the edge. So this is an incredible slicer. Makes a great kitchen knife. You can carry it in the pocket, so you think of this more of as a portable chef's knife. See, one of the things that it does is when you can come in full contact with the surface while your hand is on the handle, and your hand never hits. And that's one of the key characteristics of a knife that's also good in the kitchen. You have to be able to slice through stuff and cut and have clearance for your hand. The next one is a Civivi Vision FG, which this knife will make a decent pocket knife. This is a Nitro V, and again, this is very similar. So you can have full contact with that blade and rock with your hand still being elevated above the surface. Just get an idea on these. Here you have about a 3.5 inch blade length. And on the Takray, about 4.5. There may be some of you that are curious about this Vision FG. This is similar but different to Andrew Demko's Shark Lock. You have the very similar tab here that you pull back. So it is a very fidgetable knife. You can deploy it and close it just by the tab up here. You can do a thumb deployment, and you can do a spidey flick. So it is a pretty fun knife to play with. Carries nicely in the pocket. But I will tell you, this tab here, if you play with the knife for a bit, it starts to irritate your finger. It's not bad, but there's only so long that you're going to fidget with this knife for. Very similar to a liner lock. I find that liner locks irritate your thumb after a while, after you open and close them a bunch of times. All except for one. This Vosti Nightshade, I've been carrying this probably for about a month now. This has never irritated my thumb. You can sit here and you can mess with this knife all day. And this is one of the few liner locks that's actually very easy to work. Yep, I failed the flip. It's very easy to work left-handed. So if you're a lefty, you can manipulate this. And again, even left-handed, it doesn't irritate your thumb. So this knife actually also would work in the kitchen because of that downward angle. Even though you can't get the whole blade in contact, you can get enough of the blade in contact that you can still do, let me try on the edge here, you can still do some rocking before the handle hits. And even when the handle does hit, you still have room to hold the knife. And you can do a little bit of slicing back and forth because of the continuous curve, it's up a little here and in the back. So while this isn't as good as the others, it will pass. And then the third knife that I want to show you today, this actually is a knife that's designed by William Collins, and this is a prototype that I made. I wanted to test out the design. Now, I've had a few knives from him in the past, and so I don't feel bad about making one of these. This one is just in 1095. I like this design enough that I'm making myself one out of Crewwear. Now, it's labeled Z-Wear, but it's the same thing. And in my opinion, Crewwear is one of the very best steels that you can have for a fixed blade knife. It holds a great edge. It has a coarse carbide structure. And as the edge wears, it exposes more coarse carbides and holds a working edge for a very long time. It's also extremely tough. You're looking at a toughness that just about matches 3V. So you have all of these properties in a knife steel, and it's ideal for a fixed blade. So this knife has multiple edges. Here you have a curved edge, and this is good for your bushcraft work and for your carving. Then you have your first close to flat grind, and then a tanto tip. So you have multiple edges on this knife. You can put your thumb here, but this has the same principle. You have a really nice cutting edge that's elevated. This can also function as a cleaver and do some chopping and do a lot of slicing. This tanto tip, as you're pushing through a cut, gives shearing action, and in this back section here, when you're pulling backwards, does the same thing. So this makes an incredible slicer and is really good for processing meat. There's a lot of things that can be done with this knife. It also makes a really good camping knife. You have a 5/32 inch thick steel. I have a pretty good heat treat on 1095. I've played with them and did the heat treat and beat on them. And I started out with making them too hard, and when I beat on it, I would get the edge to chip. So I'd soften it a little bit and then a little bit more until I get the edge to stop chipping. Record that temperature and then go a little further till I get the edge to start to roll. So on my 1095, I find that sweet spot right in the middle between where the edge will chip and where it'll roll. And that's the best spot to run the steel. But it is nothing in comparison to Z-Ware or Crewware. So these are 3 knives that'll function great in the kitchen. This will be a fixed blade you can carry on your belt. This is a pocket knife that you can carry with the clip. And then this one is a portable chef's knife. You could throw this in your backpack if you're doing some camping where you're kind of living it up. You're not going on a long distance hike or a trip, or you're doing car camping. This would make a great knife for those situations. Or even like I use it. I just use it. I leave this at my work. And that's where I am now. And if I have to cut stuff up at work, I use this knife. So that's it for this 3 for Thursday. 3 great knives that you can carry that also do double duty in the kitchen.